Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Obi-Wan Kenobi Episode 4. It's weird. There's only 6 episodes in this, so after this we're gonna be most of the way through the series with only 2 episodes to go. And it almost feels like it snuck up on me, but it really didn't. Because the first 2 episodes were released together at the same time, so it's more like they artificially shortened the length of time of the series. And considering it's already a short series, yeah. And mind you, obviously, blah blah, pre-recording. So it's like I'm recording this like a couple weeks ahead of time and everything anyway, so it's like it's more noticeable for me than for you guys who are watching this like on the channel weekly and don't have to worry about all of that. But but it is something that I notice as I do these recordings. Now, last episode we had the first, at least, confrontation between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. And Obi-Wan was pretty much paralyzed with fear and shock the entire time. He couldn't really do much of anything. He was just basically acting in the defensive. And honestly, Vader kind of wiped the floor with him. But that's to be expected. That is honestly to be expected. Because Obi-Wan didn't even know he was alive. So he went into this like only having recently found out that the dude was even still breathing, and then having to deal with that, something that he's been kind of holding in for a decade because of his own traumas and fears from it. It's like, yeah, it makes sense that he's not going to be able to handle it well. And it's the same kind of reason why, in general, he's taking a while to get back into becoming a Jedi. Now, as I've said before, we know where this all goes. We know how this ends, as he does continue to embrace the identity of Ben Kenobi and becoming a hermit. He does eventually train Luke, and he is eventually the one who gives his life fighting Vader, becoming one with the Force. And at that time, he seems more at peace with it. But right now, it's clearly not the case, and we're basically going to have to see how he becomes a Jedi again, and then goes back to being the Hermit Ben again. All while kind of coming to terms with shit. With this shit that's happening with Vader and everything. And I don't know if Leia's inclusion in this is going to help with that at all, but we'll see. I'm definitely invested, though. I'm definitely invested in this. It's been pretty great so far. Definitely one of the better Star Wars shows I've seen. In fact, probably the best Star Wars show I've seen, honestly. And I know a lot of people would disagree with that. And I know there's a lot of fans out there who are very, very fucking picky about Star Wars shows and stuff. And just Star Wars in general. To the point where they actually get really toxic about it. And a lot of those fans, excuse me, a lot of those fans like to come out of the woodwork anytime anything new is released and will attack the property. They do this for the movies too, not just shows or games or whatever. But they do this, like they'll attack actors in it and be absolutely fucking racist, which is never okay. As Ewan McGregor himself said in response to all of this, if you're racist, you're not a real Star Wars fan. And there are people who will just bitch about how it's poorly written or not their Star Wars or shit. And it's like, it's stupid. It's fucking stupid. If you don't like it, that's fine. But to cause this big hoo-ha online, and a lot of these people will attack anyone who even tries to say that they do like it. And the fact that they attack the writers, the actors, everyone who works on it, it's disgusting. It's horrible. If you don't like it, fine. You can even say you don't like it, but don't attack people over it. Don't be a shitbag. It really irritates me when people do shit like that. And it seems to be very common, unfortunately, with the Star Wars community. And I know that some people have been saying for this series that it's not living up to the expectations and that it's just it's boring or stuff. And apparently people have been complaining about this episode being short and I guess not much happening in it, according to them. The episode is shorter. It's just over 30 minutes. It is a much shorter episode than the others. But that's probably also because the finale is coming up. They want to like have an episode to just bring things down a little bit, especially after that confrontation with Vader, so that with the next two episodes, especially the final one, they can ramp it back up again. That's just smart. A lot of shows nowadays do shit like that. Believe it or not. That's not an uncommon practice. And it's a perfectly reasonable practice. Not every episode needs to be around the same length. In fact, sometimes it helps that they're not. So, I think this is the right move to make. Personally. And I don't know what the content... excuse me. I don't know what the content of the episode is yet. So I can't say whether it's boring or not much happens or whatever. And that's all subjective anyways. So attacking the people who worked on it outside of just being morally wrong, is just stupid. You're attacking someone for a subjective opinion. That's dumb. And that's why I've kind of never understood overzealous fans who do shit like this. It's like, you're just dumb. You're just a moron. There's no point to doing that. It doesn't help you at all. It doesn't help your quote-unquote cause. It doesn't accomplish anything. But even on top of that, it's like there's no point to it because it's just a subjective opinion. Even if there's a big, loud, vocal group of you, there's still so many more who are loving this series. Believe it or not, the vast majority of the time you have like this outcry over things, it's a minority outcry. It's a vocal minority. People who are the most vocal, but the least actual number of people in the group, in the fandom. they're very much speaking for the the least of the people, and I mean that in terms of quantity, not in terms of quality necessarily. But yeah, it's dumb. And I even acknowledge that when I'm complaining about something, like if I complain about a show, and again, you're allowed to complain about a show, just don't take it too far. But even when I complain about a show, I'm very often in the minority, especially because of the stuff I don't find entertaining or whatnot. Oftentimes, those shows and movies and whatnot are actually pretty well liked, and I'm very often in the minority on that stuff. So, yeah, like Evangelion. I know that's extremely well liked. I don't like it, like, pretty much at all. So it's like I understand. But at the same time, being in the minority, you have to understand it's just your opinion in that regard. It's just your subjective viewpoint that it doesn't make the show or movie or game or whatever like legitimately bad just because you don't like it. It just means you don't like it, which you're entitled to, and that's fine. But it's not an objective determinant on anything. It's not measurable. So it's wild to me that I keep hearing of and seeing all these complaints for this series that escalates into really horrible shit, and people just don't seem to realize that they're not like right per se. That it's just subjective. It's not like a truth they're speaking about the series or anything. But Star Wars fans are some of the most overzealous when it comes to stuff like this. Like they can be just as bad as any fandom out there that I've noticed, if not worse in some cases. Like the constant bullying of certain actors and actresses is horrific, for example. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah. Just wanted to get that off my chest a little bit. But yeah, so I can't really say what this episode's going to be like, but I'm very excited for it because the first 3 episodes have been fantastic. Like, this is definitely what I would want in a Star Wars series. This is... I mean, again, I know it might be in the minority, and that's fine. It's my opinion, and I'm not going to hide it, but I'm also not going to, like, take it too far, of course. But I think that so far, this series is better, in my opinion, than stuff like Star Wars Rebels. I know, controversial opinion, but Rebels just wasn't doing it for me. I honestly don't really remember the characters from it at all. They didn't stick with me. There was nothing about them that was memorable to me. And I don't remember any of the story. Other than the very basic about about it being about the rebels against the Empire and all. That's literally it. I remember none of the story, like what the characters were going through or anything. So it's like, shows you how much it stuck with me. And I didn't even see all of it in the first place. I dropped it because I wasn't enjoying it. But this is what I want. This feels like the movies to me, which is what I want from Star Wars. I want it to feel like the movies, because the movies are what, got me into Star Wars. And I'm just a casual fan, mind you. I'm not like one of those super heavy fans of the series. I haven't, like, checked out all of the extended media and stuff like that. But still, it's like, I want, the movies are the original source for this, and I want the extended sources to feel like the original source, and very little of it has felt like that to me. The Clone Wars series was good. I have seen that. But yeah, it's like very little of it actually feels like, to me, Star Wars. And that's just to me. And I acknowledge that. And I'm not going to be an overzealous piece of shit and attack people for that or whatnot, or just be completely over the top with my fanaticism, because I don't do that, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, just some thoughts going into this based on the things I've been hearing and the fact that we are most of the way through the series after this. I knew this was short. I knew it was only 6 episodes, but it's coming up. It really is coming up on me. But I'm excited nonetheless. So, let's just get this started. Hope for the best and see what this episode has in store for us. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Yeah, people are crazy. People are these overzealous Star Wars fans who expect like absolute perfection or something every time and just are never pleased with anything. It's like, they're crazy. This was a fantastic episode. It was an infiltration and rescue mission. And just because it wasn't maybe as, I guess, exciting to them as other episodes have been, doesn't mean there wasn't excitement in it. I mean, we got Vader again in it. We had some great action. We got Obi-Wan using his lightsaber. Leia being a little badass. Just a lot of great stuff in this. Like, seriously. This was a fantastic episode. It was really fun. It was exciting. It was interesting. And it kept my attention the entire time. I never felt like I was bored or it was going too slow or nothing was happening. No, I never felt like that. I don't understand the people who apparently did. And mind you, if someone felt like that, that's fine. That's their right. That's their opinion. They're allowed to not like an episode. But I don't understand it. I don't understand the dislike for this. It just does not equate to me. But yeah, like I said, this was an infiltration and rescue mission. After being rescued after the last episode, Obi-Wan is of course worried about Leia. So he works with the rebels to form a plan to rescue her. And he and Tama? Something like that. They infiltrate into the Inquisitor's base and, yeah, rescue Leia. There's not much more to it. I mean, we see Reva interrogate Leia, and Leia actually able to resist the mind thing where Reva can read people's minds. Leia's actually able to resist that, which is pretty fantastic. It also shows Leia's affinity with the Force, which is good to see. We see just a lot of cool infiltration stuff, from Obi-Wan sneaking around to Tama helping out by distracting and everything. And the action, again, is pretty great. We get to see some lightsaber action. We get to see some Force action using the the cracking glass against the Empire, the stormtroopers and everything. It's really fun. It was really great. I like the pacing of the episode, and I think that this episode being shorter, being only just above 30 minutes, is actually... I think it actually works. I don't think this episode needed to be longer. I don't think it needed to be anything more than this. This was what this episode needed to be, and yeah, I have no issues with that. All the characters played their role well, and it just worked out. Again, my only real issue, if I could even find one, if I could nitpick something, is that there was very little actual tension in Reva threatening to, kill Leia, because we know Leia survives. It's like when you're threatening to kill a character who you in what is basically a prequel, and you know that character survives and everything till much later and everything. It's like there's no real tension, There's nothing there to really worry us, to concern us, because we know where that ends out. That would be probably my only real issue with this. And that's a minor issue, all in all. So even then, it's not that big of a deal, all things considered. But I very much enjoyed this. But it was a very simple episode. It was. There wasn't too much complicated stuff going on, and sometimes that's okay. It doesn't need to be super complex or have a lot of different facets going on. Sometimes it can just be one simple thing, or two, or whatnot. This is infiltration and rescue. It's a very simple concept that was done extremely well here. And yeah, I enjoyed it. What can I say? It was good. In my opinion, of course. Yeah, again, since it was so simple, there's not really much else to talk about with it. It sets some stuff up for the future, having Lola be bugged. So they are being tracked, unfortunately. And that's going to lead us into our final 2 episodes, which is probably going to be really heavy action and excitement and everything. So also, that's another reason why having this episode that's a little more relaxed, I guess you could say, even though I don't think it really was that relaxed, comparatively. Honestly, this had more action than the first episode. But even so, having an episode that's a little shorter, a tiny bit more relaxed than it had been previously with Darth Vader versus Obi-Wan and everything. This was smart, because we're clearly going into the end game of the series, so yeah, this made sense. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Reva. I assume we're going to find out her backstory, and I assume she is one of those younglings who we saw in the Order 66 scene. Because otherwise, why would they show that scene again there? Why bother showing Order 66 again, specifically with a group of younglings, if Reva was not one of those younglings, That's got to be the case. But I assume we're going to find out, we might have one more confrontation between Obi-Wan and Vader, and we're probably going to have to see how Obi-Wan kind of gets his groove back, in a way, or at least makes peace with things. Well, peace might be the wrong word, but you know what I mean. So, yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes with the final 2 episodes, and yeah, this is proving to be a very, very enjoyable, good series. So, let me know in the comments below what you thought of this 4th episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.